everyone, and welcome to The Successful English Learner by Sydney English Teacher. My name's Nicole Summer. Lovely to see you here today. Welcome to my mini learning video for today, focusing on listening. I'd like to talk about 3 tips to accelerate your listening and understanding. It sounds great, doesn't it? I've got 3 tips to help you develop your listening skills, your ability to understand, and your ear for the English language. Let's have a look together. So, tip number 1. You can only learn by listening. The only way to improve your listening is by listening. Makes sense, doesn't it? There are no magic tricks. There are no shortcuts. You simply need to listen in order to develop your ear for the English language or for any language in order to better understand what you hear. So the only way to develop your listening is by listening. The more that you listen, the more you are going to understand. You know, today you might understand 10% of what you hear, but by listening, by practicing consistently, maybe in 1 week you will understand 20%, or in 1 month you will understand 40%. So it's important to be consistent, to practice on a regular basis as often as possible. Every day or every second day would be ideal. But if you stick to it, if you show up, if you commit to listening practice, then you will get there by listening. So what should you listen to? Well, it's really, really important for you to listen to real English. Real English. The important thing is that you are not listening to people read out transcripts or unnatural language. You need the real English, real natural conversations, real natural speech, a variety of different accents. You know, you don't want to listen to the same person again and again. Yes, it might help you better understand them and what they're saying, but the goal is for you to develop your ear and to understand what everyone who speaks English is saying. So listen to different accents. Listen to a variety of different topic areas. Don't always listen to people talking about animals. You might enjoy animals and love animals. That's great. But you won't understand other things if you concentrate only on animals. So make sure that you're looking and listening to a variety of different topic areas, to expose yourself to a variety of language in terms of vocabulary and grammar as well. And it's important for you also to listen to a variety of different speeds. You don't want to always listen to people who talk slowly. You need to listen to people who speak quickly as well, because only by listening to people speak quickly will you develop your ear for fast speech, for fast English communication, and be able to understand or better understand what you hear when people speak quickly. So, you know, lots of opportunities there. You can listen to TV shows, to movies, to documentaries. You can go online and listen to podcasts or news items. There's so much available. The most important thing is that you listen and you make it an everyday or an every second day habit. You know, music is also a really powerful way to develop your ear. So you can listen to music or have the radio on in the background. But the most important thing is that you focus on what you hear. You don't want to just listen to music for enjoyment. You can, but make sure that part of the time that you're listening really closely and intently to the words. That goes for listening to the news or TV shows as well. You can listen just for fun, but if you want to develop your ear, we need to focus on what we are hearing and make it an everyday habit. Spend at least 1 or 2 hours a day completely focused on listening skills, on practicing what you hear. No distractions. We don't want the dog running around, or we don't want your flatmate cooking dinner in the background, or we don't want you listening to a podcast and you've also got the TV on and you're distracted by that. We need to focus on one thing at a time on listening, because you will get better results if you are focused on one thing. And obviously you want to be interested in what you're listening to. You don't want to listen to something that you don't enjoy, to a topic that you couldn't be bothered listening to, or that you're not interested in, because you'll tune out and it's a waste of time then, because you won't get anything out of it and your ear for listening won't develop. So it's important to listen to things that you enjoy. Find topics that you find fascinating, that you want to learn more about. And then you've got the double bonus of not only learning about a new topic area, but also maybe learning some new vocabulary, some new information, and developing your ear at the same time. So yeah, listen by listening. Learn by listening. We need consistent exposure and consistent practice in order to get fast results, in order to get long-term results that will last. We don't just want to focus on listening development for a short time. We want to have the results that will last forever, for a very long time, so that we constantly get better and better. So we learn by listening. Number 2, I've developed what we call the watch, listen, copy, learn method. The watch, listen, copy, learn method. And it works really, really well. So let me talk you through it very briefly and give you an introduction. Listening is not just about listening, okay? There is so much more to it. We can't just improve our listening skills by listening. There's a lot more that we can do. Number 1, we can watch people while we are listening. It's important for us to watch what they're saying, to look at them while they're talking. Number 1 reason is because we will concentrate a lot more. But number 2 reason is, if you look at their mouth while they're speaking, you will understand so much more, because you can see the mouth movements, the patterns, you can work out the words and the pronunciation. So looking at people while they speak is not only polite, but it also helps in your understanding, in your listening development. So yeah, looking at people's mouths while they speak. It sounds a bit funny, and you might feel a little bit uncomfortable looking at people. You probably don't want to stare at them like this, otherwise they'll think you're a bit strange as well and won't want to talk to you. So if you feel a little bit uncomfortable and you're not sure, then don't do that with a real person. Instead, maybe watch a newsreader online or on television, because the camera is always close up and you can really see just their face, their shoulders up. And the bonus is that they have beautiful pronunciation. So yeah, watching a newsreader, and really watching very carefully how they speak, how they move their mouth. And more importantly, if you focus on looking at them, you will focus much more on what you hear. The second one is number 2, listen. You need to listen intently. I mean that you can't have any distractions. You don't want to do 2 or 3 things at the same time, even though you can. We don't want to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. We want to focus on one thing, because we will be a lot more productive and we will have much better results if we focus on one thing at a time. You know, if you're doing 2 or 3 things at the same time, if you're listening and cooking and checking Facebook and looking out the window, for example, you'll be less productive and less will stick. It will go in one ear, out the other ear. So we need to listen intently, to focus as much as possible. The third thing is we need to copy. We need to repeat what we hear, or even summarize what we hear. The idea is maybe to talk to someone else after you've been doing your listening practice and to tell them what you heard, to tell them what you remember, summarize what you listened to. Number 1, it will help you to digest the information and to make it your own. But number 2, it will make you focus much better and much more easily, because you know while you are listening that you have to talk about it, that you have to reproduce it or summarize it afterwards. The vocabulary, the pronunciation, the grammar, that will stick eventually the more that you listen and expose yourself to the English language. But when you're starting out, focus on the information first. Focus on the information that you want to remember, because indirectly the vocabulary and the pronunciation and the grammar will stick then as well. So focus on the details that you want to reproduce, that you want to copy. And as you become more confident and as you understand more and more, then you can also reproduce the language, the vocabulary, the expressions, the grammar, the pronunciation. Next is learn. Okay, so you need to actively make an effort to make listening practice part of your everyday routine. You can only improve your listening skills and your understanding with consistent daily practice. It's not something that you can just do once a week or once a month. It needs to be regular. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be something that's part of your routine. Schedule it in your calendar, write it in your calendar, in your diary. Say, today between this time and this time is my listening practice time. Is my time to watch the news, is to listen to a TV show or the radio. Watch a particular documentary or a particular news show every day. That's a great way to be consistent, because it's every single day, and don't do anything else. If you've written it in your calendar or your diary, think of it as an appointment, as a meeting. Show up, do it. Don't cancel, don't postpone. I have an online course about listening development and developing your ear, where I go into the watch, listen, copy, learn method in a lot more detail, and I give you a lot more ideas and a lot more step by step items to follow. But this is a quick introduction so that you can try it on your own and see how you go. If you're interested in going into more detail, definitely get in touch and I'll help you. I'd be happy to. But at this stage, this is a great little introduction to the watch, listen, copy, learn method. Number 3, note-taking is key. So the most important thing, if you want to develop your ear for listening, your understanding, your ability to understand more detailed information, the fastest and best way to do this is by taking notes. If you want to understand more complex language, more difficult, advanced topics, a higher level of vocabulary and grammar, the best way and the fastest way to do this is by taking notes. I want you to focus on the task, to listen more closely. Don't just listen and relax because it will go in one ear, out the other ear. I want you to grab your pen and a piece of paper, and I want you to take note of what you hear. First reason is you will focus much, much more, I promise. It's like you're zoning in on particular detailed information. And the other reason why this is so important is because every time you listen, you will understand more and more and more. You know, today you might only write down 2 or 3 words. When you do it again tomorrow, it might be 5 words. The next day it might be 10 words. It's important to focus, write down what you hear. Not every single word you hear. You're not writing a transcript. You're just focusing on information, on details of what you hear. Vocabulary, words, numbers, names, places. Challenge yourself to write them down while you're listening to the news, while you're listening to a movie or a documentary. So write down the words, focus on the vocabulary. Then as you develop, you will have more and more detail on that piece of paper, and you will understand more and more detail too. And you know what? Listening and note-taking is actually a lot of fun. So it's not just so that you can have a record on paper of what you hear. You're doing this so that you develop your ear, so that you are able to understand more detail without writing. That's the reason why you're doing that. So they're my 3 ideas, my 3 tips to help you very quickly and easily and in a fun way develop your listening and understanding. Number 2 is to learn by listening, to actually listen, to actually practice. Number 2 is to follow the watch, listen, copy, learn method. It works, believe me. And number 3 is to take notes, because note-taking is key, the key to success, the key to being a successful English learner. So, give it a go. Try those 3 tips and see how you go. If you've got any questions, please ask. I'm happy to help. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this has been helpful and that you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.